Women are special for many reasons. They are the most sensitive, caring, and maternal people in the world. Women can do things that all men cannot do, and that is to give birth to beautiful babies. Women can get things done by just losing her looks. Women are special because they love to accomplish things, and they love to work together to get what they want. Women have come so far in this world, and that is what makes them so special. In the life of woman, menstrual cycle begins at the age of 12 and 50 years old. Undergo a monthly cycle in which the uterus prepared for pregnancy. It prepared for a fertilized egg to settle and grow into a baby. If pregnancy does not occur, the lining breaks down and is expelled from the uterus. This is known as menstruation. The menstrual cycle is controlled by two hormones, the estrogen who beats the uterus lining and progesterone, the one who maintains the uterus lining during the second half of the cycle.
The uterus is the part inside the body where a baby grows when a woman is pregnant. The inner lining of the uterus supports and nourishes the developing baby. If there is no baby, the lining is shed during her period. During a period, blood and other tissue from the uterus leave the body through the vagina. A period can last from a few days to about a week. You may have heard doctors talk about the menstrual cycle. This is the time from one period to another, usually about 28 days. Day 1 of the menstrual cycle is the first day of a period. The uterus starts to shed its lining. As soon as the period ends, the uterus prepares again to receive a fertilized egg. Eggs are released from a woman's ovaries. Eggs are super tiny, 1/10 the size of a poppy seed. Women have 2 ovaries, one on each side. The fallopian tubes lead from each ovary to the uterus. In the middle of the menstrual cycle, an ovary releases an egg. After ovulation, the egg travels down the fallopian tube. It takes a few days to complete the journey. Meanwhile, the lining of the uterus gradually gets thicker so it can support the development of a fertilized egg. If the egg gets fertilized, it will implant in the uterus and the woman is pregnant. If the egg is not fertilized, the woman is not pregnant and the egg will begin to dissolve. Because the woman is not pregnant, the lining of the uterus is not needed. A woman will have her monthly period, and the cycle begins again.
Now let's talk about fertilization. This is the journey of a single sperm meets the egg. During sexual intercourse, about 300 million sperm enter the vagina. Once the sperm enter the vagina, they will pass through the cervix, the entrance of the uterus from the vagina. The cervix is usually tightly closed, but it can be opened for a few days while the woman's ovulation phase. Some sperm remain bound caught in the pods of the cervix, but they may later continue the journey. While the sperm are traveling, some of the cells of the woman's immune system mistaken the sperm for foreign invaders and destroying thousands of them. When the sperm get past the uterus, the sperm head for the fallopian tube. Inside the fallopian tube, there is a tiny cilium push the egg toward the uterus. While the sperm traveling in fallopian tube, some of them get trapped in the cilium and die. And at last, the sperm reach the egg. Only a dozen of the original 300 million of sperm reach the egg. The egg is covered with layer of cells called corona radiata. The sperm must pass this layer to reach the outer layer of the egg, the zona pellucida. When the sperm reaches the outer layer, the sperm needs to burrow into the layer. Inside the Zona pellucida is a narrow filled space. The first sperm to make contact will fertilize the egg. The sperm will attach into the egg. Within a few minutes, both the outer membrane of egg and sperm will fuse, and the egg pulls the sperm inside. When this happens, the egg membrane will prevent the other sperm from attaching to it. Next is the egg will release chemicals that will push away the other sperm from the egg. Inside the egg, now that the chromosome of both female and male together, there will be a spider web-like thread called microtubules. Pulls them toward each other, completing the process of fertilization. At this moment, instantly determining the gender, hair color, eye color, and other characteristics. This new single cell is the beginning of a new human being. The egg continues to travel to uterus for growing and maturing for the next 9 months until ready for giving birth.
Good day, I am Ronel Dialogo and I'll be discussing the biological and environmental causes of developmental disabilities. The term developmental disability, according to the Developmental Disability Assistance and Bill of Rights Act of 2000, pertains only to circumstances with functional limitations in at least 3 of the subsequent areas. These areas are self-care, receptive and expressive language, learning mobility, self-direction, individual living, or economic self-sufficiency. Correspondingly, when a baby or a preschooler lags far overdue or flops thoroughly to reach the developmental milestone or loses a formerly learned skill, there could be a mental or physical dilemma serious enough to be considered a developmental disability. Developmental disability commences anytime throughout the developmental period and regularly lasts throughout a person's lifetime. At most, developmental disability begins before the baby is born. Some can occur after birth because of injury, infection, and other issues. Most of developmental disabilities are believed to be caused by a multifaceted combination of influences. These influences include genetics, parental health and behavior during pregnancy, such as smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol. There can also be complications throughout the birth, or the mother might have an infection, or the baby might have it at the very early in life. It is also possible for the mother and the child to encounter and have contact with environmental toxins such as lead that can cause developmental disabilities for the child. We may be aware of the reason for some developmental disabilities such as fetal alcohol syndrome, which is triggered by drinking alcohol during pregnancy, but for most, we do not. There are numerous social, environmental, and physical causes for developmental disabilities, although for some, a conclusive source may never be determined. There are 6 communal factors that causing developmental disabilities, and those are:
Number 1. Brain injury or infection before, during, and after birth. Several types of brain damage can lead to an intellectual disability. Congenital conditions are present before birth, while degenerative conditions occur after birth, and they are progressive in nature. Traumatic brain injuries are injuries to the brain that occur after birth. Many brain injuries are preventable. These injuries may be caused by an auto accident, a blow to the head, or a fall. Brain injury also occurs when infants are shaken or dropped. This unfortunate situation often occurs when caregivers are frustrated. Number 2 is growth or nutrition problems. Number 3, abnormalities of chromosomes and genes. In some cases, babies are born with an abnormal number of chromosomes. In every case, the result is some type of syndrome with a set of distinguishing characteristics. Number 4, babies born long before the expected birth date, also called extreme prematurity. Premature birth can lead to a long-term intellectual and developmental disabilities for babies. These are problems with how the brain works. They can cause a person to have trouble or delays in physical development, in learning, in communicating, in taking care of himself and herself, and getting along with others. Number 5. Poor diet and healthcare and drug misuse during pregnancy, including excessive alcohol intake and smoking, may cause disorder that may affect the development of a child. Number 6. Child abuse can also have a severe effect on the development of a child, specifically the socio-emotional development aspect.
Common causes of developmental disabilities includes genetic or chromosomal abnormalities. It may be also caused by parental health and behavior during pregnancy, such as drinking and smoking. It can also be caused by complications during birth, such as infections that the mother had during pregnancy or the baby might have been early in life. Genetic disorder is one of the several diseases that are the result of mutation of the damaged genes, and they are often inherited. The three ways the genetic disorder can arise are due to mutation within genes, changes in the number of chromosomes, and due to changes in the structure of the chromosomes. Human beings has 46 chromosomes in every cell in their bodies, consist of 22 pairs of chromosomes called autosome, and the other pair is the sex chromosomes. Autosomal dominant inheritance occurs when there is an altered gene on one of the 22 autosomes. Who carries this altered gene is affected by the disorder. For example, one parent has an affected gene and the other has an unaffected gene or normal gene. 50% chance that their offspring came out with a disease caused by autosomal dominant inheritance, and the other 50% chance may be normal. Autosomal recessive inheritance occurs when there are two copies of altered genes present. If both parents has one affected gene, the possibility that their offspring has a condition brought by the autosomal recessive inheritance is 1 out of 4. For example, both parents has one affected or diseased gene. They don't have the disease caused by the autosomal recessive inheritance, but they could be a carrier. Parents has 25% chance that their offspring came out with a disease caused by autosomal recessive inheritance, 25% being normal, and 50% could be a carrier. Sex-linked disorder. It is a genetic disorder caused by or linked to genes located in the sex chromosome. In humans, X and Y chromosomes are the sex chromosomes. Who are most likely to have this disorder? Mostly male can have sex-linked disorder compared to female. Why? Because female has 2 copies of X chromosomes, while male only have 1 X chromosome. This is also because X chromosome is large and contains many more genes than the smaller Y chromosome. Having only 1 X chromosome can be problematic. That is why it usually happens to men. For example, if the mother has a defect on her X chromosome and the father's X chromosome is normal, their daughter can be unaffected because the X defected chromosome from the mother is masked by the father's normal X chromosome. While in the other hand, their son will most likely to have a sex-linked disorder.
The developmental stage of an individual at the time of an exposure can make a massive difference in the result. Contrary to the World Health Organization, a gray window of susceptibility is a sensitive time interval during the development when environmental exposure can interfere with physiology of cell, tissue, or organ. These are the chemical toxicants associated with the developmental disabilities. It has a strong and good evidence for every disease or disorder. A strong evidence is identified as a clinically proven or comes from a good quality research and evaluation studies, while a good evidence are value labels to a particular types of knowledge by those who are able to assert such labeling. The disease called altered neurodevelopment with changes in behavior, where the brain is a critical target for developmental endocrine disruption, resulting in altered neuroendocrine control of hormonal signaling, altered neurotransmitter control of nervous system function, and fundamental changes in behavior such as learning, memory, and social interactions. The commonest functional conditions identified are attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD, and autism, which each now consists of various subgroups depending on an individual child predominant symptomatology. There is only good evidence on this one, which is bisphenol A, or also called as BPA. BPA is an industrial chemical that has been used to a certain plastic and resins since 1960s. BPA is found in polycarbonate plastic and epoxy resins. Polycarbonate plastics are often used in containers that restores food and beverages such as water bottles. So why is it harmful to us? The main reason is that BPA is an endocrine disruption that mimics hormones in your body, and your body designed to respond hormones at low levels, whether the hormone is fake or natural. Next one is cerebral palsy. It is a group of disorder that affects movement and muscle tone or posture. It is caused by damage that occurs to the immature brain as it develops, most often before birth. Signs and symptoms appear during infancy or preschool years. For this one, it has only one strong evidence that's stated, which is mercury. Mercury is a chemical element, the only common metal which is liquid at ordinary temperatures. It is commonly known as quicksilver and is heavy. Silvery white liquid metal. Mercury metal also found in many new applications in electrical devices and electrochemistry. The brain of children who have died because of mercury poisoning show neuron loss in the cerebellum and throughout the cerebral cortex. Mercury also appears to affect brain development by preventing neurons from finding their appropriate place in the brain. Exposure to toxic chemicals. If the mother is exposed to a toxic substance such as high level of methyl mercury found in some thermometers and in some seafood, during the pregnancy, the fetus is at high risk of cerebral palsy. Cognitive impairment, including learning impairments, intellectual disability, developmental delay, occurs when problems with thought processes occur. It can include loss of higher reasoning, forgetfulness, learning disabilities, concentration difficulties, decreased intelligence, and other reduction in mental function. Cognitive impairment may be present at birth or can occur at any point in a person's lifespan. I will state one strong evidence and two good evidence. The good evidence are carbon monoxide and nitrites. Lead is a natural occurring metal. It is abundantly found throughout the earth. It has been used in a wide variety of products, including gasoline, paint, plumbing pipes, ceramic, solders, batteries, and even cosmetics. Lead exposure can have serious consequences for health of children. The high levels of exposure, lead attacks the brain and central nervous system to cause coma, convulsions, and even death. Children who have survived severe lead poisoning may be left with mental retardation and behavioral disorders. Nitrites is a form of nitrogen that is vital to the healthy growth and development of plants. It is found naturally in soil but can be applied with the commercial fertilizer if the soil does not contain enough quantities. Nitrites can slow down metabolism of cabergoline and ergonovine, resulting in an increase in systolic blood pressure and increased likelihood of angina symptoms. Decreased coordination or ataxia. Ataxia describes a lack of muscle control or coordination of voluntary movements, such as walking or picking up objects. sign of an underlying condition. Ataxia can affect various movements, creating difficulties with speech, eye movement, and swallowing. Persistent ataxia usually results from damage to the brain, controls muscle coordinations. One strong evidence is acrylamide. Acrylamide, it is colorless, odorless, and crystalline amides that polymerizes rapidly and can form as a byproduct during the heating of star-rich foods to a high temperature. Acrylamide is used in production of polymers, mainly in the water treatment industry, pulp and paper industry, and textile treatment industry. It is used as a laboratory reagent. The polymer is non-toxic, but exposure to the monomer can cause a central and peripheral nervous system damage, resulting in hallucination, drowsiness, and numbness in the hands and legs. One of the two good evidence is aluminum. Aluminum is a light in weight and silvery white in appearance. Aluminum is used for beverage cans, pots and pans, airplanes, sidings, and roofing and foil. Aluminum is often mixed with a small amount of other metal to form a aluminum alloy, which are stronger and harder. They are also found in consumers' products such as antacids, estrogens, vapored aspirin, food actives, and antiperspirants.
Fetal alcohol syndrome or fetal solvent syndrome is a condition in a child that results from alcohol or solvent exposure during the mother's pregnancy. It causes brain damage and growth problems. The problem caused by this vary from child to child, but the defects caused by fetal alcohol syndrome are not reversible. These are some of its strong evidence. First is ethyl alcohol or ethanol. It is a clear, colorless liquid and the principal ingredient in alcoholic beverages like beer, wine, or brandy. You can also find this in personal care products, household products, food additives, and fuel. The second one is toluene. It's a clear, colorless liquid with a distinctive smell. It occurs naturally in crude oil and in the tolu tree. It is also produced in the process of making gasoline and other fuels from crude oil, and making coke from cola. It is used in making paints, paint thinners, fingernail polish, adhesives, lacquers, and rubber, and in some printing and leather tanning process. The only good evidence of it is solvent. Hearing loss or hearing impairment happens when there is a problem with one or more parts of the ear or ears, the nerve coming from the ears, or the part of the brain that controls hearing. Impairment means something is not working correctly or as well as it should. Some strong evidence that causes hearing loss are carbon disulfide, a colorless, toxic, highly volatile, inflammable liquid chemical compound, mostly used to manufacture viscose rayon, cellophane, and carbon tetrachloride. Second one is cobalt. Cobalt is a hard ferromagnetic, silver-white, hard, brittle element. Cobalt is used in many alloys, in magnets, and magnetic recording media, and it acts as catalyst for the petroleum and chemical industries, as drying agents for paint and inks. Some other strong evidence are lithium, ethanol, metals, which includes arsenic, lead, mercury, and thorium, and noise or loud sounds, while some of its good evidence are carbon monoxide, carbon tetrachloride, cyanide, and solvent, which includes benzene, styrene, and toluene. Seizure or epilepsy is a disorder of the brain. A person is diagnosed with epilepsy when they have or had 2 or more seizures. A seizure is a short change in normal brain activity. Seizures are the main sign of epilepsy. Some strong evidence that causes seizures or epilepsy are carbon monoxide. It is a colorless, odorless, tasteless gas produced by burning gasoline, wood, propane, charcoal, or other fuel. The second one is lead. It's a naturally occurring element found in a small amount in the Earth's crust. It can be found in all parts of our environment, the air, the soil, water, or even inside our homes. Lead compounds have been used in a wide variety of products. It includes paint, ceramics, pipes and plumbing materials, solders, gasoline, batteries, ammunition, and you can also find this in cosmetics. Other strong evidence includes cyanide and mercury. Some of its good evidences are aluminum, halogenated hydrocarbons, and pesticides. Minamata disease, sometimes referred to as Minamata disease, is a neurological syndrome caused by severe mercury poisoning. Symptoms include ataxia, numbness in the hands and feet, general muscle weakness, narrowing of the field of vision, and damage to hearing and speech. The only evidence that causes Minamata disease is mercury. It is a naturally occurring chemical found in rock and in the Earth's crust, including in deposit of coils. It exists in several forms: elemental mercury, inorganic mercury compounds, and methyl mercury and other organic compounds. Visual impairment. Visual impairment is a term experts use to describe any kind of vision loss, whether it's someone who cannot see at all or someone who has partial vision loss. Some of strong evidence that causes visual impairment are methanol. Methanol is a non-drinking type of alcohol, also known as wood alcohol and methyl alcohol, which is mostly used to create fuel, solvents, and antifreeze. It is a volatile, flammable, and unlike ethanol, poisonous for human consumption. Methanol is also used to produce a variety of other chemicals, including acetic acid. Other strong evidence is carbon monoxide. Some of its good evidence are carbon disulfide, copper, mercury, methyl bromide, and organotin.